Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Trading Together. I'm Mel Gacee. Today is January the 6th. It's a Tuesday, and we're having some interesting market flow going on right now. I'm actually looking to get short here real quick. So if you're here, I just want to say welcome. Please drop your name in the chat. Please say hi. This is a friendly, interactive place. I want to be able to answer questions and comments. I want to help newer traders get their footing and start their foundation in trading. So I'm here to teach and to trade in front of you. So uh, go ahead and say hi and let's get to know each other. All right. The first thing you notice, and first thing I'm noticing this morning is this rising VIX. Remember, the VIX is the volatility index. It is the fear gauge of the market, telling us that we are moving into more of a fearful position. When we see the VIX rising, the market is starting to feel some fear. And usually when that happens, we see the market coming down. We're watching the VIX rise since about 10 o'clock, a little before 10 o'clock Eastern, which is right over in here. And then we sort of get this round over. So I'm interested in looking at some puts here, but I've got to see how we react. We're sitting right here at the overnight high. This is the level that we hit last night as SPY and futures are trading all night, as you know. So we're sitting right below that overnight high. We need to see if it tries to run up and recapture it. I'm going to go ahead and take puts here, punch it, I'm in. Up just a little bit on this trade. Up about 2%. %, now getting a bounce, so it's going against me. All right, I'm going to take a win here at 6%, punch it, I'm out. All right. We just took a winning trade here live. I don't know if you guys were able to follow on that, but it was very fast. Looks like Christy Robancho is here. Christy, welcome, and saw my TikTok. Thank you so much for joining, Christy. I'm really glad to have you. And as I said at the top of the stream, this is a place for traders of all levels, but I especially want to help newer traders. I'm doing this for free. I'm live streaming for free. I'm showing you my trades. I'm telling you, there are not a lot of people out there on YouTube doing this. And I'm doing it because I really do want to help newer traders. When I first got started, and that was over 20 years ago, I blew up my account many, many times. So don't be discouraged if you're new. Don't be discouraged if you've hurt your account. Don't feel bad about that. It is all part of what we like to call tuition, right? The market does make you pay to learn. All right. Christy's saying, came straight here. You're awesome for doing this for free. Thank you, Christy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Just started paper trading last week. Very new. All right. Okay. Getting another drop here, Christy. I'm going to take a look at these puts here one more time. Let me look at this chart. Sitting at 688 on the SPY. This move is a little bit extended, but it looks like it could go farther. I'm looking at 689 puts on the SPY. I'm going to take one more put here. I'm in, punch it. And we're getting a little bounce here. So we'll probably, oops. All right, I got out of that one a little too fast. That was a small loss. Let's try that again. I had my finger on the button there, just moving a little too quickly for myself. All right, we'll give that a wait. I'm going to see what happens here. All right, so I would say, Christy, great idea on the paper trading. For newer traders, I always recommend paper trading, and you did exactly the right thing. So I do see some people, come into trading and they are very excited and they want to go in all in with their money. I highly recommend against that. So great job using your paper trade account until you get comfortable. And that's exactly the right thing to do. Okay. All right, getting a little bounce here. There we go. So good thing we jumped out of that put real quick there because it did give us a turnaround. All right, so you can see kind of this drop that we've been having. So we got this basically a huge upside down letter U is what we got. And what I've been watching today for a couple of days now is this kind of jitteriness that's going on in the VIX. So I started talking about the VIX a minute ago. The VIX is the volatility index. It's the fear gauge. It is telling you when the market starts to feel more fearful. And as the VIX moves up, the market is feeling fear. We're going to see the market move down. As the VIX moves down, the market's feeling happy and complacent. We're going to see the market moving up, right? So VIX down, market up, VIX up, market down. That's how the VIX relationship and the market works. The VIX is gauging options on the S&P 500 out 1 month. So when it kind of senses that people's moods are changing, for lack of a better word, you'll see the VIX change. So when the VIX kind of gets a little jumpy like it's been lately, it's time to prepare for a change of direction. Gavilan is here. Good morning. Good to see you. All right, Christy, I'm learning to trade futures with a trend line strategy, something very simple to start. My first few trades, I lost 300, but got back up and positive over 2,000 so far. Congratulations. That is really hard to do as a newer trader. I like trend line trading, but I would say you will have even a stronger result if you add some other indicators on there. I do like trend line trading, and I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. All right, Christy, not comfortable using my own capital yet, but this new year I'll go out on my own. Absolutely beautiful New Year's resolution. I always say the stock market is one of the last great frontiers for wealth building. That's been my experience. That's my thoughts on it. But it is not easy. Anyone who jumps in thinking they're just going to make a, bunch of quick money and get filthy rich overnight, and all these people on YouTube with their Lambos, it's just a crock. That's not true. it takes a lot of effort and skill to beat the market. It is not easy, but it can be done. So congrats to you, Christy, for going out on your own this year, and good luck. Okay. What days are you live? I can be ready to hop on. Oh, thanks, Christy. I am live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Mountain. So I'm here every day at 9 a.m. Mountain. And I appreciate you following me. That really, really helps me a lot. I'm really trying to build this channel, and I do appreciate you being here. And if you guys subscribe, that really helps me a lot. So thank you for that. That's great. Thanks. Okay, so again, we had this odd kind of formation, right? We came into the morning with this push up here, little push down. Good morning, Inner Joy. Good to see you. And then this big, strong push. And what did we hit? We got just under the all-time high. And I'll show you where that is on the SPX. So remember, I have my charts divided basically. I have 5 different charts on here, but basically 3 main areas I'm looking at. That's going to be the SPX. And remember, that is the index itself, the S&P 500. When you hear people talk about the S&P 500, that is an index. Think of an index as a bowl that houses the stocks. You can't own it. You can trade options on it, but you can't own it. It's just the holder for the stocks, the same as the VIX. It's an index as well, the same as the Russell, the NASDAQ, the Dow. Those are all indices, and they hold stocks inside of them. So I track the SPX right here, S&P 500. The SPY, if you want to own the index, you have to buy the ETFs. So they built ETFs over the indices. So Russell has one, Dow has one, Q has one. Well, they have more than one. And the SPX has one. The S&P 500 has one. The index or the ETF that I choose to use is the SPY. So what they do is they take and they create a fund, right? So the index is this basket of stocks. They mirror all of those stocks in this fund. That's what the SPY did. They put all of these stocks in the fund. They mirror the S&P 500 exactly. So you can trade the SPY, you can own the SPY, you can buy options on it, you can do anything you want with it. You can buy and hold it for 100 years if you wanted to. So that's what the SPY is built for. It's an ETF, an exchange traded fund that is built over the S&P 500. And like I said, all the indices have one. The Russell has the IWM, the NASDAQ has the QQQs, the Dow has the DIA, the diamonds. So these are the ETFs that we trade. I trade the SPY because number one, it's the most liquid out there, just about. And number two, it has daily expirations on the options. So I like both of those things. So I mostly trade the SPY. And I keep that kind of right here in the middle. And then over here on the right, I have the ES. These are the futures. So here we have the index, the SPX. Here we have the ETF, the SPY. And here we have the futures, which is future contracts that are being traded on the S&P 500. So all of these products are, in essence, different versions of the S&P 500, and they trade almost identically, almost in lockstep. The biggest difference is the index does not trade overnight, but the SPY, the ETF, and the futures, they do. So if you hear people talking about futures, that's what they're talking about. Future contracts being traded on a product. And there's futures everywhere, as you probably know. Coffee futures, sugar futures, futures on gold, futures on indices, futures everywhere. It's a big, big market. So you're talking, Christy, about learning to trade the futures, and good for you. That's fantastic. And we can talk about that trend line strategy here in a minute. I'd love to talk with you about that. And I would love to see you add some other indicators to give you extra confirmation. Give me just 1 second. Just making sure everything's okay with my kiddos. They're on Christmas break. So they're calling me. So I'm just checking on them. All right. Basically, those are the things that I'm following, right? The other fourth thing that I have here is the VIX, and we just talked about that, the VIX being the volatility index. So I'm watching that as well. So these are all my screens. So for you, Christy, when we talk about a trend line strategy, and by the way, there's no trade right now. So I'm teaching, I'm analyzing the market. Analyzing the market, and I'm going to go through these strategies with you while we're waiting, because there's no move right now. Okay. So on the trend line, so let's look at what is a trend line strategy. It's a great strategy, Christy, and the market does move in waves. You can always depend on it, right? Even when we're moving up or down, we consistently get these moves in waves, right? So here's the up move for today. And this is a minute chart. So this is super fast, you know, lots of false signals on the minute chart. But when you look at a trend, you will see that they move in waves. So the way that we track a trend, and I'm if you're taught differently, Christy, you can tell me. The way I track a trend is I'm going to look for touches, 1, 2, 3 touches, right? So this is a downward trend. And so I am going to add some lines here and show you how, if I were trading a trend line, how I would do it. So I'm going to put a trend line on my drawing tool, and I'm going to start with this this touch here. And start my trend line, and I'm going to make sure it touches here, here, and here. And these are a little bit artistic, you could say. They're a bit up to the artist's imagination, let's put it that way, because they don't have to hit exactly, right? So we have a touch here, we have a touch here. Does it come through a little bit? Yes. And a touch here. Did it quite touch? No. So there's a little bit of artistic interpretation here, but the main idea is the same. This is the downward trend line. Now we would go and we would want to set an upward channel. I like my upward channels to be parallel, but if they're not, that's when we would call them like megaphones. But I personally try to make my upward channel parallel to my lower channel. So I would draw that upper line right here. And let me zoom in to make sure you guys can see that. I'm going to zoom in here, and I have so many lines on my chart, so I apologize that I'm going to make these bolder. You'll be able to see those better. So let's edit that and make that a little bolder for you. We can see it better. All right. Those lines are now super bold. And this one's just a little crooked. So like I said, I like it to be parallel. That's just my personal preference. There we go. So here's our time frame, or excuse me, our trend line. And this is just for an example, right? To trade the trend line, you wait for this touch, you wait for this touch, and then what happens? We get a break of the trend. That is how a lot of people will trade the trend. As we break through this trend line, because we broke to the upside, you would trade it to the upside. The thing I would add for you, Christy, is a MACD. I think the MACD is one of the better indicators available. It's been around for a million years. Everybody is familiar with the MACD. Usually everybody in trading is familiar with the MACD. I would add that to your strategy, Christy, to help you, because here's your trend line. We don't know here yet that it's going to continue down. We don't know. We don't have this upper trend line drawn yet because this is that touch. We can see it backwards. We can see it easier than while it's forming. So here we say, well, I don't know. Is it touching? Yes, it is. It's going down. So the MACD tells you here, right here on this candle, nope, we're not going up. We're actually going back down. Then we hit this trend line again. The MACD starts to brighten up right in here, but it doesn't cross over until we get here. Look at that. That's what you would call a confluence. We can see that we break upward through the trend line with a MACD crossover. That would be, to me, a little bit of an added security for trend line trading. So just an idea, Christy, just something to think about. Let's see. Christy's saying, I start from the monthly time frame and go down until I hit the decided time frame I want to trade. I'm practicing on 5 minutes, so that's when I'll stop. Great strategy, Christy. It's good to be in sync with the bigger time frame. So I also analyze higher time frames. I'm looking at dailies, 15 minutes, and every now and then I'll go out and analyze the weeklies and the monthlies. But for me, it's mostly just to get an idea, right? I'm on the minute chart, so I'm trading micro moves. Look at this punch up. There we go. I'm going to take these trend lines off, and I like this push up through the VWAP here for a trade. Let me take a look here and see if this makes sense for us. VIX has definitely given us a strong drop over the last few minutes. And we're crossing the VWAP right here. So this is a possible call trade. I'm still watching. We're also hitting the overnight high and the high of day from yesterday. Bear that in mind. Sometimes those levels matter. I know my charts are busy, but these lines all mean something to me. So this yellow line is our overnight high. This blue line is our high of day from yesterday. Many, many times these levels get respected. All right. Christy's saying taking a long or a short, depending on a 3 or 4 touch points until it breaks. Create a safety point. When it crosses safety, helps me with risk management. You've done your homework, Christy. Nicely done. Nicely done. Kids Fishing, welcome. Thank you so much. Asking, hey, did you pull any out of Data Vault last few days? I don't know what that means. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure I know what that means. What is Data Vault? All right, so this upward trend is now in question. We got a rejection off the VWAP. Could we consider a put back down? Yes, we could. I'm going to take a look at what our volume is doing right now. As you know, one thing I like to look at is on the options chain right here where I take my trades. I like to look at the volume. So we've got right now 394,000 sitting at 690. So 690 calls are the highest volume today of all of the options traded. The next highest is 689 puts. So that tells me we're right here in a little range. So let's watch and see if we get some break of this range. 689 to 690 is kind of where our range is. Are we coming down? I did not profit on Data Vault AI. and I did not buy any. I usually trade SPY. That's really my bread and butter, and I do pretty well with that, kids fishing. But thank you for the question. I appreciate it. And thank you for saying hi. All right. So right now we can see that we had this MACD crossover here. We started climbing and then we got a little bit of a momentum slowdown here. So the question is, where are we going? We're moving up or down. We are below the VWAP. So one of my rules is I'm very careful with calls below the VWAP, and I'm very careful with puts over the VWAP. So just bear that in mind. This VWAP is this white line. It's the volume weighted average price. The volume weighted average price is basically a moving average that adds weight when we see volume. So see all these blue lines down here? These are all volume. Whenever you see volume spike, the VWAP is going to add some weight to this price level. So we have this average price, and I'll zoom out so you can see it better. All right, looks like we are coming back down. We're getting moving average change. I might consider puts here. I'm going to look at the 690s. Actually, let me do that on the other screen so that you guys can see the charts. I'm going to look at 690s here. I'm not in them yet. I'm just going to prepare my order because I like to jump in quickly when I'm ready. All right, 690 puts is what I'm looking at, not in yet. All right, and we're just kind of hovering a bit under this overnight high. So we came up and tagged the VWAP and rejected off of it, but we really haven't dropped hard yet either. So we're getting some signals so that MACD, getting darker green here, is telling us, and the moving average is rolling over, is telling us we could be coming back down a little bit. Let's see what we get. All right, little push again. Let's see if we come back up to this VWAP. And I'm okay toggling back and forth between puts and calls. I do it a lot. And it's based on, because we're on the minute chart, we get turnarounds that come very quickly. So here's a little push here. Let's see. I probably wouldn't take a call until we cross this VWAP. We haven't done that yet. Not a ton of strength in the MAG 7, so something to be aware of today. Remember, the MAG 7 are those mega tech stocks that we kind of follow to see where the market is going. They really run the S&P 500 and they run the NASDAQ. Those mega tech stocks, those what they call Magnificent Seven, those guys really run these indices because they are huge titans, huge titans. And as they go, so goes the index. So I'm not seeing tons of strength in that space. There is some, We've got NVIDIA up about 1%. Broadcom up a little over 1%. So there's some, but the rest looking a little bit weak here. Microsoft is negative. Meta negative. Google negative. Apple negative. Tesla very negative, down almost 5%. Not good. All right. Okay, first time watching. I'm a full-time scalper, like watching other people's perspective and strategies. Yeah, awesome, Kids Fishing. I'm a full-time scalper myself, so thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. And if you feel like sharing strategies, I would love to hear what you're doing. Christy, what platform are you using? I'm using Thinkorswim, Christy. I've been on it for years and years. I'm really comfortable with it. It's one of the better charting platforms out there, in my opinion. It's got great charts on your phone, which is one of the main reasons I first started on Thinkorswim years ago, was that I loved the fact that it had such good charting for the mobile app. It's really good. I love the mobile app. So if you're on the go and you need to trade from your phone, it's pretty good. All right, so no drop here and no real climb yet either, just a little sideways action at the overnight high. VIX doing the same thing, just kind of floating sideways here. But again, what I'm not seeing is a ton of strength in the Mag 7 arena. Not much strength there. So I'm half expecting another bit of a drop. I'll show you the S&P 500 daily and kind of what I'm looking at there. We are sitting right now basically 25, 27 points under the all-time high. That's nothing. That's nothing. That's $2 on the SPY. We can do that today, and we came very close. So could that be the trajectory for today? It could be. It could be that we run up and tag the new all-time high. When we got closer earlier, you saw what happened. Boom. They dropped it. So let's see if we start to get a climb here. If we push up through this VWAP, I'm going to pivot over to calls. But not until we do. Not until we push up through the VWAP. All right, so far no push through yet. And I do not want, I don't know why I have these Bollinger Bands on, but I don't want them right now. There we go. Okay, no push through the VWAP yet. Still a little bit of sideways action. So we've got a minute here before our next trade, unless this gives us a strong MACD cross. Let's keep an eye. I'm 50-50 right now on puts and calls because we're sort of just ranging right here. I need to see a push down and a cross on the MACD for a put, and I need to see a push up through the VWAP for a call. I'm still holding the puts that I had loaded right now. The 690 puts is what I'm looking at right now. Looking a little bit more negative here, kind of a little bit of a double top right in through here at the VWAP. And we're getting a little volume coming on here, so let's see. See this little volume bar coming up here? That's telling us, usually that tells us that they're trying to hold it right here and trying to push it back up. When you see the volume, a lot of times that's telling you we're trying to go in the opposite direction, or at least trying to stop right here. Sometimes they can stop it and sometimes they can't. But you can see this little bottom right here. And it's interesting, isn't it, that it's sitting right at the top of our opening range. So I keep a lot of lines on my chart. They're so messy, but I know what everyone means. And this green one here is our 15-minute opening range. You can see we're trying to respect that. They're trying not to come back down into it. The bulls are trying not to come back down into this opening range. They really are trying to hold it here, and they've been trying since back here. So bounce off of that, but we can't break the VWAP either. So that's what tells you that we're in a range. All right. Christy, unfortunately, I have to go to work. Catch you tomorrow. Trade with you. Have a great day. Mel, can't wait to see your channel grow. Christy, I appreciate that so much. I can't wait to see your account grow. So we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining and for saying hi and letting me get to know you a little bit. Have a great day at work. All right. So as we kind of slog through this sideways range here, I'm going to start talking about the daily chart and where we are sitting in terms of the all-time high. Where are we going? That's what we want to try to analyze on the higher macros, the higher time frames. We want to try to analyze where are we going. Now here at all-time highs, that's super challenging because, we do have a high above us, but above that, we don't know. We've never been here before. So all-time highs are challenging to analyze, but that's what we're going to try to do right now. I'm going to show you where the all-time high is and where we stopped this morning, just short of it. So I will keep this little chart right here in my side view, and I will pull up the SPX on this chart. And I'm going to look at the daily. All right, we're getting a push down here. Not through the range though, not through this opening range high yet. All right, here's the daily chart. I'm getting a little closer to a put here. Let's see how we respond when we get back down to this opening range high. I'm liking the puts here a little bit. No break yet. Looks like our MACD is starting to roll over to the downside. Little response here. We're getting these long wicks. So that's telling us that the bulls are not quite ready to let this go yet. All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and take this put here. Punch it. I am in. I'm up about 3% right now. 4%. I'm going to get out right here at 5. Punch it. I'm out. All right. So another successful trade. I think this thing could go more, but I don't know if I want to trade it again. Let me take a look. I'm going to give it a minute. I think it could go more, but So as you can see, my trades are really fast because I am a scalper. It does take time to develop that kind of muscle memory with your platform and your system. Don't be discouraged. You'll get it. And like I said, I love what Christy was doing there with her paper trading. So if you're a newer trader and you haven't developed that muscle memory yet, you're not super confident with your platform, do yourself a favor and paper trade until you're ready, right? But you'll be ready to follow me very quickly. Do some practice. Paper trading, just practice. It doesn't matter. It's a paper account, right? If you're on Thinkorswim, they also have a version of their product called On Demand. That's this right here in the upper right. On Demand allows you to trade basically any day in history, and it calls up options history, which is really unique because not a lot of platforms will give you access to options history. Now, it doesn't load them exactly the way it did real time, but it's close enough to give you a feel for how to trade options. So I love On Demand for that reason. And like I said, if you're a newer trader, do yourself a favor, preserve your capital, learn your platforms, learn your strategies. It's going to take some time, but don't get discouraged. You'll make it, right? Okay, back to my daily analysis. We did a little detour there for a quick 5%. So we had our all-time high here. This is the SPX. So remember what I said, that's the index. That's the S&P 500. We had our all-time high here on October 29th. And we look a bit like a frog, don't we? A little bit like bounce, bounce, right? So we hit the all-time high, came down, bounced up, came down, bounced up, came down, bounced up. So what's happening here is a bit of liquidity grabbing, right? The big money, in my opinion, this is theory. I can't prove it. Big money knows where they're going. They know where they want to be. But what are they going to do? They're going to pull markets down. If they're trying to go long, they're going to pull these markets down. So why? So they can get a better price to fill all of these buy orders. They're not going to fill too many buy orders right here at the all-time high. So it gets pulled down, liquidity increases, and then they can buy right here. So look what they did. Big red candle, pushed it all the way down. What was that? Like 400 points? drop there, right? Big move. Then they get all of their buy orders filled, and look at how it jumps. Gap after gap after gap, right? Just straight up, right? Parabolic. All right, and speaking of straight up, we're getting to move upward on our charts right now. I am not interested in a call until we break the VWAP. Now, does that mean we could miss this move? Yes, it does. Am I okay with that? Yes, I am. Because right now the trend is down. So I'm going to be careful with any counter trend trade. And when I say trend, I mean micro trend. Just in the last few minutes or hour, we've been trending downward. Okay, so back to our daily analysis. High, drop liquidity sweep, pull those bears in, get some bear bait in there, take that retail money. That is what they're doing. Getting those retail traders in there. We are their liquidity. Don't be fooled, right? Now, could we trade this? Yes, and we did. We did trade it to the downside and we made good money. So the idea is that while we look at the big picture time frame, I do for context, I'm not trading at this high time level. I'm trading in a micro level, but always keeping in mind what's our big picture, right? So here, bear bait pulls the bears in, gets that liquidity, boom, fills their buy orders, gets it back up to a high again, pulls it back down, fills some more orders right here, pulls it down another, 200 points right there, gets their buy orders filled, pushes it back up. We hit the all-time high on 1226. We also hit an all-time high on 1224. Hit the new all-time high on 1226. And what did we do? Boom. Another little drop down. Not as big as this one, which was not as big as this one. So tinier legs down, tinier legs up. We're getting thin at the top. So this is where it becomes tricky. How do we know where we're going to stop? We don't. We don't. What we can do is look at options positioning, and we can see there's a lot of options. There are a lot of options sitting at the 700 range or the 7,000 on SPX. That's just overhead. That's just a hair away. So we could say, yes, based on options positioning, it looks like we could be racing for an all-time high, and the charts are certainly saying that. But what do they like to do? They like to play a little cat and mouse with the retail trader, don't they? We came all the way up to 69.34 today, 11 points away from this all-time high. What is every retail trader doing today? Go long, go long, go long. They're going for the all-time high. So what happened, if we go back here to the minute chart, what happened to everybody who went long today? Boom, they crashed it. Right there. Look at that. So everybody who went long today, they might have bought this top here. Oh, we've got a ways to go. We're going for the all-time high. And then boom, what do? They reverse it. Classic. It's classic liquidity sweeps, classic baiting those retail traders. So what we're doing is we're looking at these smaller moves, keeping in mind the big macro picture. All right, we are getting a push through the VWAP. So I'm going to switch this back over to my minute chart. And of course, I am looking at the futures in this window. Our MACD rolled over right here, just under the VWAP. I would not have taken that trade, but we are pushing up through the VWAP. So let's wait and see if we can get any juice behind this. The volume is descending. So usually that's not a good sign for a continued move in this direction unless the volume picks up here. So right now, no trade. Just holding here at the VWAP. So this will be our third test of it in the last half an hour. Tested here, rejected, tested here, rejected, tested here. Let's see if we push through. These aren't huge rejections. It's more ranging behavior, but there was a lack of strength in pushing through. This candle seems to want to push through. Let's watch and make sure that it's telling us the truth. We're also bumping up on the high of day from yesterday, and that has been a little bit of an overhead resistance for the last hour. So we'll be careful with any upward moves at this point. Little push. Still at the high of day from yesterday. No strength yet. And everybody just moving sideways. You can see it right here, this range, very, very much sideways range here. VIX also just kind of sitting right here, building a little low right here, not really wanting to drop yet. All right, there's our push up through yesterday's high. And then again, not yet. Getting a little bit of a slowdown here. And remember, that's reflected in this descending volume. That's what we call a price volume divergence, right? Price climbing, volume declining, that's a divergence. It's something to pay attention to. There we go, move back down. They may move it fast. Let's see. I'm going to load up some 690 puts. Fast move there. I'm not in anything yet. Volume's starting to creep up a bit here. I'm scalping options, kids. You're asking if I'm scalping stocks or futures. I'm scalping options. Options on the SPY. So great question. Thank you for asking. We're still in the range. Even though we get this long red bar, we're still ranging here. Just under the overnight high. Still haven't broken into this opening range. We broke down into it and immediately came right back out of it. So we're still ranging. So no trade just yet. All right, we are getting close to the end of the stream. And I just wanted to say, if you're here with me this morning, I'm sure grateful. I'm really, it's so much more fun to have a team of people to trade with, have some friends here, making new friends, because trading can be lonely and sometimes you can go crazy staring at these screens all by yourself. All right, Inner Joy saying thanks for your help. Have a great day. Inner Joy, just question: have you been able to take any of my trades? I know that you're kind of trying to actively trade. I'm curious about that. So I know they're fast, and I know sometimes it can be a challenge to follow me, but I'm curious how you're doing there. And then, all right, Gavilan saying have a great day. Thank you very much. And we will be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Mountain. And I appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you then. And oh, by the way, guys, data coming, big data coming this week. So if you're actively trading, if you're holding overnight positions, be aware that there's big data coming this week. Okay. All right, guys, we will be back again tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. So thankful that you're here with me. And guys, there we go. Kids saying, just trying to see if we're on a level. I only scalp stock, was wondering. I got you, kids. I'll tell you this, I don't scalp stock, and the reason is you make a lot more money scalping options. Now, it depends on, the strategy you're using, but it's my experience that you make a lot more money scalping options. So we will hopefully see you tomorrow. Gavilan, what days? I'm here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Mountain. So every single day of the week, I'm trading here for an hour, and I'll be back again tomorrow, 9 Mountain. Inner Joy, unfortunately, Eastern time, trading mostly 9:30 through 11. So I've improved a lot from your insights. Thanks, Inner Joy. What a great thing to say. I appreciate that little vote of confidence. All right, Kids Fishing, do you start at 4 a.m. pre-market? I usually start my day at about 6 a.m. Eastern, and I start analyzing charts. But I do trade futures, but usually I trade market hours. So I do start my market analysis very early in the morning, but usually I'm trading real-time hours, especially when trading the SPY, right? All right, Inner Joy, my 2 trades for the week have been profitable on the SPX. Great, glad to hear it. All right, everyone, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks so much again. See you then.